bathrooms are right directly here behind you. The women's are around the corner. If you leave,
In the kitchen.
5, okay? You won't get back up, no, it's just playing. If you leave, make sure you let someone know before you leave so that we can let you back up. Thanks to our sponsor, Kick-Ass Anchor, managed service provider. Love them to death. Never let me down. Good guys, raise your hands if you're from Anchor. Woo. From the chair. Okay. Green Interactive, Chloe is in the house. There you go. Kick-Ass Ruby on Rails development company. And General Assembly, raise your hands. No one's here. Okay, Kick-Ass Entrepreneur. Okay, just to let you know also, AWIA is sponsoring the Australian Web Awards, or a showcase of outstanding work of web designers and developers. Submissions of the award will be accepted until August. If it is validated and it is good, it will be accepted. So please get everything in. If you have any questions in regards to it, please see Jess. Jess, everyone knows Jess? Okay, great. Okay, and also, AWIA is looking for new members. Just to let you know what AWIA is. AWIA is Australian Web Industry Association. It's a collaboration of web professionals, developers, creative, engineers, and it's all about collaboration and helping each other out, and also partnership. So if you're interested in regards to AWIA, please see Jess or anyone with one of our sponsors. Okay, and also, oops, I forgot. On July 3rd, AWIA will be sponsoring Extend the annual conference, Edge of the Web, in a multi-city event concurrently in Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, and streamed to the other locations. The theme is to disrupt biz, gov, and web, a gathering of those for hungry for change. It invites government to begin closer collaboration and engineers of online. We should talk to the NBN. Maybe we can make some change. Side joke, guys, sorry. All right. Meetup groups listed above: Ruby on Rails, Swag, Sid PHP, Zen Framework, Sydney Mobile Development Group, DevOps, Speed Networking, Stackers. Speak to the people on screen for further events. If you have any other associated meetup groups that you would like for us to add, share, to collaborate with AWA, see Jess, and we'd be more than happy to assist you. Also, oh no, that's it. Okay, I'm going through this because of time. I'd like to hand it over to Sarah, who will be going over the Global Accessibility Awareness Day.
Oh, is it just me? Hi everyone. My name is Sarah. I work for PwC Stanford Interactive, and it's by luck today that I'm here. Yesterday I emailed Port80 Sydney and go, hey guys, would you mind promoting Ali Bites? This is the event to celebrate Global Accessibility Awareness Day. It's next Thursday. And Jess responds to me and goes, oh, that's fantastic. Would you like to come and do a lightning talk? And I'm like, yeah, okay. So here I am, with a completely new slide deck, so I'm not entirely sure what I've got in there. So what I'd like to do for 5 minutes or so is talk a bit about Global Accessibility Awareness Day, digital accessibility, what it is, and yep, give a plug for the event next week. So what is Global Accessibility Awareness Day? It actually started 3 years ago, so we're in our 3rd year, and it started when a fellow called Joe Devon wrote a blog and said we need to take accessibility mainstream now. We can't just talk to all of these people, the converts, the people who already know why accessibility is important and how to do it, go to our little accessibility conferences and share in our little cliques. We need to actually go and talk about digital accessibility and the needs of people with disabilities to the broader community, to designers, to devs, to content authors, to product managers, getting senior buy-in, all of those people that need to know it. And so Global Accessibility Awareness Day was born, and it's now co-chaired, founded by Joe and Jennison, of which come from the US and Canada. And what has happened is that it's like being completely embraced. There are events all over the world that are going to be celebrating Global Accessibility Awareness Day. Next Thursday, I'm just going to say GAD from now on instead of that big long name. So we will be one of many celebrating on the day. But you know what? Why are we doing this? We're doing this because we want to make things accessible. We want everyone to see our great designs. We want everyone to be able to purchase our great products. We want everyone to have access to the information that we put online. It means including everyone. It also means there's a system for digital stuff. So, you know, how we actually put things together, making sure that people have great experiences. Anyone in the accessibility space, you know, there's a whole lot of standards. WCAG tends to be the one that people most talk about. That's the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. You know, they tell us how to make a website more accessible. But there's no replacement for a good user experience, for proper user testing. You know, technically, user experience should include everyone, which is why we've got terms like inclusive user experience and universal design. Actually, not just saying there's this group of people here that we want to make things for, but actually being inclusive. So, some of the stats. 18.5% of Australians have a disability. That's 4.2 million of us. It's also about the population of Queensland. 8.5% of Australians are colourblind. Interestingly, colourblindness tends to happen mostly in males, not actually very much in females. It's a genetic thing. Over 46% of Australian adults have a low reading skills. So understandability, making things easy to read, really important for those guys. We love the internet. 83% of us are users of the internet, and 96% of Australians use it at least once a week, and 4 out of 5 of us use it every day. And over half of Australian adults use the internet to access government websites. And there's been a very big push since June 2010, where the government released the Web Accessibility National Transition Strategy. It basically said government websites need to be level A compliant. That's the lowest level of WCAG 2 by the end of 2012, and double A compliant by the end of 2014. And I've got to give it to the government, because there's certainly been a renewed interest in accessibility, not just in the government space, but also in other spaces as well, so non-government. So what's the problem? A lot of it is about, you know, do I really need to do this? Is it really important? I've got better things to do. How does it stack up against my functional requirements? These little characters, I have to say, come from my colleagues who I now work with, Ruth Ellison and Kim Chatterjee. They created this wonderful set of attitude adjuster cards. There's 7 attitudes, of which apathy, ignorance and denial are 3 of them, and we've got, you know, aware and educated and champion down the other end. And then there's all these like playing cards, like, you know, leveling up newbies and the big stick and that kind of thing. So they're actually still available on the Stanford site. You can download them and print them and that kind of thing. And hopefully I'll get an infographic together, because people keep going, you keep doing a presentation about when you play these cards, you know, against these attitudes, but we really want to know how to do it. There's lots of people with the cards out there. So the problem is, to start with, attitudes. And that's what Global Accessibility Awareness Day is about. It's about raising the profile of digital accessibility, keeping people talking and learning about it, and getting an understanding of, it could be you one day, you know? Age-related impairment. My parents are deaf as, you know? I come from Melbourne, I go home. I can hear the television up the other end of the house. And they're not ticking the box on the census to say, hey, I'm hearing impaired. You know, the stats don't tell you everything. So a few top tips for accessibility. They're fairly easy ones, you know, not too complex. We're going to talk about navigation, labeling images, color contrast, captioning videos, identifying tables, making content understandable, and using tools and basically trying it. So navigation, first of all, providing clear navigation to and from content. You know, link text, meaningful link text. Someone reads along the site, they hit a link. If they hear click here and then have to keep reading on, then, you know, they have to go, oh, that's what that link was, and they have to go back and actually click on it. You know? So people who are blind, they often use assistive technologies called screen readers. They basically read out at the screen in a linear form, basically following the order of the dog. So having linked text that's understandable. You know, imagine someone with a physical impairments. People with severe physical impairments may actually use what's called a head wand. And it's literally a wand that is strapped to their head. And they may actually be touching the keyboard, or even now that we've got touch screens, touching a touch screen and following links and navigating around a website like that. For us, clicking on a link and going, oh, that's not really the place I wanted to go, not so much of a problem. Hit the back button off you go. For someone with, you know, an impairment like that, who, you know, it's taking so much effort just to click on the link, actually having to go back, pretty big issue for them. Labeling images, really easy one, alt attribute. Can I say alt attributes have to be on images no matter what? But it's about the quality of the value of the alt attribute or the text alternative. A cute pair of boobies, maybe not. This is where it's a nice example of how you can and can't use accessibility testing tools. So there's a lot of tools out there to assist with accessibility testing, not going to take away from that. But when you've got the tools that sort of, you point at a website and you say, is this, you know, compliant with WCAG 2, it can tell you about, it can measure about 30% of the testable criteria within WCAG. So what it can tell you is, does it have an alt attribute? What it can't tell you is that alt attribute at all meaningful? Is it useful to the user? Is it too verbose? Has someone just put junk in and it's completely, you know, ridiculous? Colour and contrast. So remembering that not to use colour alone to convey information. So graphs is often one that suffers from that, and making sure you have good contrast between text and background. Often accessibility is synonymous with disability, but something like contrast is also great for mobile devices where people are using them outside in glary conditions. So it helps all users. Captions. Captions for video, transcripts. Unfortunately, I had to PDF this. Someone might recognise this scene here. When this is, Luke, I am your father. And I had this nice little skit where I'd taken the sound out. You cannot tell that Luke has a father. So, you know, captions, transcripts, really great for deaf and hearing impaired. But this one I love because it's great for SEO. Once you've got a closed caption text track in there, it can be indexed by search engines, great in noisy environments. I was literally just at a client site today and someone goes, I want to watch this video, don't have headphones, can't watch it, doesn't have captions. And because we're doing an accessibility project with them, she's like, oh, where are the captions? I said, no captions there, can't see them. Identifying tables, table headers, really great for simple tables. If you've got complex tables with merged cells or multiple table headers, then using ID and header attributes to manually associate with them, bit of a pain in the ass, but such a better experience for screen reader users. And understandability. So write for approximately a year 10 literacy level if you can. Things like, our language is funny, a fat chance and a slim chance are the same thing. So avoid using jargon, use plain English where you can. So there's lots of tools out there. There's colour contrast checkers that allow you to test the contrast between you know, text and background. The one I like is from the Pacello group. Web accessibility checkers, so I mentioned those where you can point them and sort of say, you know, how much of my site is accessible, but do use them as a support. The other approximately 70% actually does need to be manually tested. There's code validators, document accessibility checkers, so PDF, one of those things that we go, it's actually improved in accessibility recently, but there is a free checker pack, the PDF accessibility checker, funnily enough, that you can download and run it over for free. If you need to repair your PDF though, you need Adobe Acrobat, thank you. And there are screen readers that you can download and test with. So Mac users comes with VoiceOver as standard, so you can just fire it up, have a go. If you're a Windows user, NVDA is a free and open source screen reader that you can download and try out for free. It's actually developed here in Australia by 2 blind guys in Brisbane. There's also other commercial tools like JAWS is probably probably one that's often encountered. It is a Windows-based screen reader and is has the highest user group. And there's different checking methods. So the W3C Web Accessibility Initiative recently published and are adding to some easy checks. So first things you can do to check for a review. Again, on the Stanford website, there's WCAG maps, so that's sort of a snapshot of WCAG and its structure, guides to accessible videos. So for GAD, if you visit the Global Accessibility Awareness site, what we challenge people to do is actually try something for an hour. Have an experience. So try going mouseless for an hour. People with physical impairment or screen reader users, they rely wholly and solely on a keyboard. Surf the web with a screen reader, download one of those free ones. Turn off your sound and pictures and browse around for a while. Or work just from your mobile for an hour and see how you go. So, hopefully I've inspired you. You are all now passionate about this. But we'd love you to come to Ali Bites next week. So that's A11Y, 11 letters between A and Y, take them out, get Ali. It's the hashtag for accessibility. There's a website, a11ybites.org. We've actually got events, Ali Bites, in Sydney and in Melbourne this year. And it's an evening of lightning talks, so basically it's pretty much like what I did. We've got 6 odd presenters. Actually, I have got 6 odd presenters unless I accept a 7th, which is always a possibility. Talking about innovation and wearables and how we can use that for people with disabilities. We've got people talking about ARIA, accessible rich internet applications. So a lot of the tips today have been, fairly easy, not too complex. ARIA is for dynamic content, JavaScript, AJAX, actually ensuring that all of the names, roles, values, states get communicated through to screen readers. So we've got a few people talking about that. Another one talking about input and mobile accessibility. And more generally, if you're on Twitter, you can follow the hashtag #GAD, tweet about Global Accessibility Awareness Day, encourage your colleagues maybe to do a few of those activities. So you can visit the GAD website, and if I have time on this weekend, I'm going to actually put together some cards, a little bit like those attitude adjuster cards, to make the 1 hour things a bit more user-friendly. You could write a blog about it. There's D. Alexander in Melbourne writes accessibility and content haikus, and so she's asking people to write GAD haikus. She runs a company, 4 Syllables, so you can find her on Twitter as well. And just tell people about it, or talk to your colleagues, or come talk to me. I obviously don't have a problem talking about this. Thank you. And lastly, some attributions. This content deck has had my colleagues, Kim and Ruth, and some people from the federal government, Jackie, Shona, and Andrew and Steve in there, all helping to put this together, and we're sort of behind the scenes. I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to be using this deck, but I think it's fine because we're going to put it together in a awareness kit and send it out so people can use it themselves. And maybe a few other things to go with it. Thank you.
Give you some hiring announcements. Anchor, looking for Linux administrators, technical account manager, and customer service reps. See Bart and Jess in regards to that if you're interested or know someone who needs a job. Bart? Jess. Jess is right here.
I'm still here.
Jess. So I'm pretty sure some of you know someone that's unemployed. So. Okay. Yeah, you do. Reinteractive, again, kick-ass Ruby on Rails developers. They also looking for Ruby on Rails developers. You see Chloe right there if you know anyone developers looking for a position. Okay, cool. Now, this is a good part. All right, let me give you a quick background about our speakers. Peter Bowie, PB web developer, dev. Peter has been working in Joomla space since the Mambo days, then moving to Joomla as the community split. He started learning Joomla by reverse engineering templates and working out what made them tick. He now co-leads web design and development agency, PB Web Development, based in Sydney, with his girlfriend and partner, providing solutions for clients using Joomla CMS. That's nice. Will Brown. Will Brown, line canvas. Will has been involved in web development since 1992. Wow, something that the oldest one in here, which is good. 1992, and his company Gravitational FX has been delivering business web solutions since 2006 for his clients in the UK, Ireland, and Australia. He founded the WordPress networking group in Dublin in 2011. Spoke at the WordCamp Sydney 2012. Co-organizes the WordPress Sydney meetup. Is on the planning subcommittee for the WordCamp Sydney 2014. Okay, so our speakers know what they're talking about. Let me just give you a quick background. Me, okay, I know I'm not the only one in here. When you hear WordPress as a CMS, what do you think? Do you think free and blog? Am I the only one that thinks that? Okay, I guess I am. Okay, no one else is. Yeah, no one else is thinking that. These guys are here, we'll clear that up. In Joomla, if you're just beginning with developing or just tweaking, they will go more into the comparisons. It's just more than just developing, we're just getting into web development. Okay? Also, please stick around for the pizza and networking at the end. If I see you talking to the same people, pull you up, okay, just letting you know now. Mingle, talk to each other. You never know who's connected to each other. Help each other out. That's what this meetup is about, helping, collaborating, and moving to the next thing. Okay, now we'll hand over to Peter.
I like to sit down when I present, so we're just going to lean against this. Does it connect? Yeah, on there. All right, yes.
Laying on the side there.
So welcome everyone. Who are we? Thanks for the introduction there. I'm obviously Will Brown from Line Canvas. Line Canvas is a web design and development agency and marketing agency. We're based in Dublin, Ireland and Sydney. We specialise in WordPress solutions. As said, my first introduction to web technologies was in 1992. That was back in the era of Mosaic and Netscape Navigator. Back then. Excellent. So we had no CSS, and the most fun thing you could do with technology was to plug.
I like the marquee scroll across the screen.
So skip forward a couple of years. I'm now technical director at Line Canvas. I'm a back-end developer, or an old-school programmer, if you want. I'm happiest working with servers, APIs, all the kind of back-end algorithms, and problems and solutions. Front-end stuff, not so much. So I've basically been working with WordPress now since about 2006. So it's been interesting seeing the product develop and evolve over that time. And hopefully today we'll take you on a little journey as to where the product is just.
Sorry, you have to press the button tonight.
Yeah.
So, like Jared said, I'm Peter. I've been running PB web development since about 2006, but been deeply involved in the Joomla space way before then. I am now one of the lucky few people that work in the Joomla community leadership team, which basically means I get to put up with a lot of the politics and talk about stuff more than actually do stuff. But we're actually doing some cool projects at the moment, leading the Joomla project forward. So it's exciting, and I get to know all the gossip, I guess, that happens within the community of an open source project. We primarily work with clients ranging from small, medium businesses all the way up to federal government. So quite a few clients in a very broad spectrum of space. So hopefully my experience should cover everything and any questions you have with regards to Joomla. And just to add, I'm not anti-WordPress. We do build clients' websites with WordPress as well. And we see different solutions for different clients and of situations.
Well, I used to use Joomla as well. In fact, it was one of the first CMSs that I got into. Also, I'm a WordPress person. I do have a bit of that. Okay, so what are they? What are WordPress and Joomla? WordPress, shall I say, is originally from a blogging background, so it's a publishing and blogging platform. That's the kind of concept that people seem to have in their head now. When we talk about WordPress, the first things that seem to come into people's head are, oh, isn't that a blogging platform? Isn't it free? Okay. So we're trying to kind of dispel that myth. It's more than a blogging platform. Yes, it's free, and that's a good thing. Okay? But as I say, WordPress is evolving now. It's moving away from just being a blogging platform. It's becoming more. Okay? So it's more of an application framework. It's more of a foundation. It's more of a base to create great websites.
Joomla's pretty much started from the same basis. It wasn't really aimed as a blogging platform, but a site building tool. And it was more so aimed at the site implementers and the developers itself. The project slowly has moved on and actually has built its own Joomla framework, which is being used to power a lot of the CMS these days. So if you're used to something such as Symfony or Ruby on Rails even, you'd be more familiar with where the Joomla project is actually going these days. So within a year or two, you'll be able to use Composer, if you're that type of developer, to pull in assets in different parts of the Joomla project or different libraries from completely other projects to build applications with Joomla. So that's the direction where the CMS is heading, but it's, what are my notes? Yeah, it started as a basic CMS for users to build websites.
Okay, so where did we start? For WordPress, WordPress was started by Matt Mullenberg, which you probably know the name. Maybe not Mike Little, but they certainly kind of founded it together. It was a fork of the V2 or Capital software. Yep, and that started in 2003, initially again as a kind of blogging platform.
Whereas Joomla started as the Mambo project, which Derek mentioned a little bit earlier. Unfortunately, the Mambo guys, who were actually in Melbourne, Australia, when they started the project, they had visions of commercializing their product eventually, cashing in on the project, which is fine. You know, most people are entitled to do that. But the majority of the developers that were contributing to the Mambo project went, pretty much gave them the finger and split the project off to Joomla in September 2005 and formed that project. And the majority of the community went with them because it was still free and it was pretty much exactly the same product. And all the core developers went with them as well. So the core product developed and got better from the Joomla project.
Okay, so what are some of the key features for WordPress? I know it's quite small, but I'll try and go through. WordPress is famous for this 5-minute installation, something they talk about a lot. And it's really geared to get people started. We've tried this a few times in the beta and managed to get one up and running in about 2.5 minutes. Okay, so it's a nice introduction, it's a nice startup, takes you through all the setup, you don't have to worry about too much about the database or PHP, just run an install script, hopefully in 5 minutes that's you. It is search engine optimized. This was a quote from Google's Matt Cutts. He did a presentation a few years ago where he said that if you're using WordPress, you're onto a good thing because it does 80 to 90% of the mechanics of SEO. So you're on a good starting base. It's got multilingual support, so currently the actual core supports 70 languages just now. There's a multi-site option. This has just been recently released in the latest versions. Allows you to host multiple sites under the one single domain. So you've got like a network site and then allows you to spin off different sub-sites for that. It's quite good for kind of hosting people if you want to host websites. Simplicity UI. That's what WordPress really is known for in the community. It's the simplicity to do things. The interface itself, and they're always looking to refine it, to make it better, to make it easier. Publishing a post as well is fairly simple. You have a title, you have an editor, you have a status. They try and keep things as simple as they can. It's all about content. You want to put content up. There's built-in content revision control. So every time you save a version, you go back and look at the previous version. It's got auto-save as well, and shows you different variations between those. Let's see, multiple user roles. Content management systems produces without. We've got up from administrator all the way down to subscriber and multiple roles in between. So you can set different levels for all your users. It's W3C compliance. So they're really into accessibility. They really want to make this product available to everyone. So there are keyboard controls for that. The great thing about WordPress is extendable. So we have themes and plugins. That's two big ways to extend WordPress. It's highly scalable. You just have to look at WordPress.com for that. It hosts millions of websites. So people say, can it scale to run my corporate application? You go, yeah, big time. It powers 21% of the current web. So it's a popular content management system. It has a huge community. It was established in 2003. Since then, it's been growing and growing. There's loads of meetups, there's loads of support forums, there's just lots of stuff out there. The community is absolutely huge, and we'll look at some of that later on in the slides. There's remote access APIs as well, so you don't have to be on the computer, you can access it remotely, so it's got that part to it as well. There's rapid core development. Just recently, they've been trying to get the releases of WordPress, that core, into a nice cycle. So they've now started to release an update to the core every 2 or 3 months. Okay, so you're going to see new revisions coming out, and these new revisions are going to be including all the latest libraries, they're going to be improving the core, addressing security issues. So you're not going to get one every week, but you're not going to have to wait a week and a year for all the stuff to come out. So it's going to be a regular update cycle just to keep everything up to date. It includes the latest libraries. So you've got jQuery, _JS, Backbone.js. So they are using all the current standards that everyone's using. And it has things like URL routing and HTTP request libraries. And that's getting towards the idea of being a framework. It's not quite there just yet, but it's getting towards it. So that just gives you an idea of some of the key features that WordPress has to offer.
So just out of interest, how many people use WordPress and how cool? One. This side, okay. 80%? 80%? Yeah. How many people use Joomla or have used Joomla? Yeah, that's about the average stats. Who hasn't used Joomla past Joomla 1.5? Cool. And who actually uses Joomla 3 these days? No one. Awesome. Brilliant. Okay. Well, that's why I'm here to actually tell you the things that have changed. And we've learned from our mistakes and what we've fucked up in our development processes and release cycles, and basically screwed up the community that was using Joomla back then. So, damn, it's being recorded. It's too late now, isn't it? Okay.
Just redo that bit and don't swear.
It's a bit late now, I can't even remember what it's. But essentially, we've done a huge review. The project has done a huge review over the last year or so to find out what mistakes that the project has made. We'll go into the structure of WordPress versus Joomla a little bit later, but we've learned from some of the mistakes. Joomla is majority based purely just volunteers. We don't have any paid people working within the project. So Joomla is based on volunteers, and we've learned from the mistakes, and a lot of them are to do with our release cycle and how we've actually communicated that to the rest of the world. So Joomla's always had this 5-minute install as well, but we just didn't tell anyone. So it was exactly the same, but it's not famous at all. We've got Bootstrap integration now. So in Joomla 3, Bootstrap, if you're familiar with Bootstrap, is integrated into the core of Joomla. So if you're building a template, if you're used to using Bootstrap to build sites, it's all in there, and you can just pull it out. So you don't need to pull in those resources. Like I said, we've changed the release cycle of Joomla now. So instead of, does anyone know the release cycle of Joomla, or the really stupid thing, the 1.5, 2.5, 3.5 series? No, okay. Someone made a decision to have a long-term support release cycle of Joomla. So 1.5 was a stable release, and that would be supported for X amount of years. 2.5, same thing. But because of that, developers had to rush to get in all these new features before the 3.5 stage. So we saw at 3.2 when that was released, developers cramming in all these features, like we had 30 new features come in at 3.2, and it was a complete mess, it was hard to manage. Volunteer time was excessive, so we changed that cycle now to something like WordPress, where it's a continuously rolling feature set, and the iterations are ongoing, so it's a continuous flow, user upgrade, easy to manage. SEO, always been shit in Joomla, I admit it. Just keep the swearing going, I guess now, it's too late to it lets it all out, this frustration, So Joomla's always had an issue with it, and if you didn't know what you're doing, you'd have to use external extensions and components to really get something out of the search engine optimization of the CMS. But now they've looked at that and went, all right, cool, what have we stuffed up? Let's redo some of these things. So they've redone the routing, redone the search engine friendly URLs, and they've also redone microdata and how the output is done. So a lot of this core stuff, all this really cool new stuff that's coming out in terms of the SEO space is being integrated into core. And the marketing team for the Joomla project are working hard on forcing that all to the core of the CMS as well. More for the developers to manage, but yes, it's all in there. Content versioning is in there, tagging's in there now, so we're kind of stealing some stuff from other CMSs. I don't know who. But we do have some of the really cool stuff that has been in there from day one, such as the HTML overrides, the extensibility, and the ability to not hack the core. But people still hack the core. I don't understand why. Probably because the marketing team didn't really push it out. So we've changed that and made it more visible, and hopefully anyone that's using Joomla these days isn't hacking the core and is doing proper overrides of the CMS within their templating system, so they can extend it, customize it, and do all sorts of crazy things. It's got a web installer now, just like some other CMS. Unlimited access level control, like a different CMS as well. I'll try not to mention them all. Multilingual is a huge thing. It's not just the multilingual in the back end, but being able to actually build a multilingual website. So having a website in English, French, Spanish, you name the language, you can translate it into that language. It's absolutely huge now in the Spanish community, so we're slowly doing conferences, major conferences down through the Americas, down all the way to Brazil, where Portuguese, but a lot of those Spanish-speaking countries in the Americas are picking up Joomla and absolutely love it. It's actually one of the most, it is the most popular open source CMS in France. The French government have picked up Joomla and is using it in their releases. What else have I got? Rapid Application Development Framework. It's really cool and easy to build extensions with Joomla now. You don't really have to code anything. All you have to do is upload an XML file with a couple of fields, and that will build a form application to store it in the database for you. I don't know how that works. I'm not a real core developer these days, but it's so much quicker than having to write model views and controls for web extensions. What else? The decoupling of the CMS is happening, and a lot more work is behind that. So normally now, you download Joomla and install it, and you get a whole bunch of different things, but a lot of people don't use all of that core stuff that comes with Joomla. So instead, you can download, in the future, download Joomla as a Joomla Lite version that may have only the content, which is the core content thing, and not with anything else. But if you need any of those other things, you can pull it in at any time you need it. We finally got rid of new tools. Is anyone coding in new tools? Yeah, exactly. So we finally got rid of it. Front-end editing and inline editing as well, which is an awesome feature. I used to use a CMS called My Source Matrix, or Squiz Matrix, whatever it's called now. They keep on changing their name. Anyone use that? No one? Awesome. That had inline editing and front-end editing way back then. So it's really cool to see some of those features being used in Joomla as well. What else? Cloud API, speed increase. Yeah, don't want it there now. Next. See you, Sarah.
So moving on to infrastructure and tech. WordPress is a PHP application. That's what it is. Yeah, it runs on PHP. It's got a database layer, so it supports MySQL and now in MySQLi, which is the improved version. And a lot of acronyms. It's a foundation built on 10 years of testing experience. What we mean by foundation is, does everyone know the difference between foundation and frameworks? Foundation is a system that kind of works on its own as it is. A framework doesn't work as is, it's like scaffolding to build something. So WordPress is a foundation, it's its own entity, which allows you to then extend and build. It of course uses all the current technologies, HTML, CSS, PHP, JavaScript, jQuery, Ajax, all the current web technologies. There is a movement to convert the core from procedural to kind of object-oriented for better future extensibility. So whenever the core is being developed, people are always refactoring stuff, looking at how they can improve it, make it better, make it more streamlined. It's a patching engine that's optimized through plugins. IIS is supported. Database scalability, we said that it's highly scalable. It does this through a little plugin called HyperDB, which allows you to run massive slave databases, so it makes WordPress really highly scalable at that side. CDN support as well, so if you run websites in multiple countries or have multiple audience in countries, it's got CDN support, so you can plug all your images and audio off to there. There's a native mobile app as well on Android and iPhone, although it is more geared towards the kind of blogging, traditional type WordPress application, not so much for the kind of newer website builds, but it's getting. There's this fantastic little thing called WP CLI, which I use all the time. It's a little installer you put on servers, and it allows you to run WordPress at the command line. So you can update databases and upgrade core and move things around, rename stuff in the database really quickly. But it also allows you, from a server side, to script things as well. So if there's any server people here that want to do cron jobs to update things or whatever, you can run it all through WP CLI without having to even touch WordPress and do the computer. And we're getting an application framework, which is awesome. So the next versions of WordPress, hopefully 4.0, 4.1, is currently 3.9. They're looking to put in a JSON REST API, which is the kind of stepping stones into moving more towards away from a foundation and more towards a framework, so allowing application frameworks and being a kind of skeleton and scaffolding to build applications on.
So it was funny when I was doing these slides. We were both like sharing a Google Doc, a Google PowerPoint, whatever it's called, and we were doing the slides. And I read Will's doc points, and I was like, oh, do I really need to repeat any of that? So Joomla pretty much does all of that, except for it doesn't have a native mobile app, and it doesn't have a server command line stuff. But because it has the Joomla framework, you can build and write your own framework applications to do stuff within it. Just last night, I found an extension that enabled the REST API. I had no idea that existed or anyone that was working on it. It was a crowdsourcing funding thing to try and get it to core, and they were asking for like $30,000, and I thought it was a bit ridiculous. But someone did it for free, and is charging I think $9 or something for it, so you can get a REST API Joomla for $9, which is awesome. It is object orientated and it has an MVC structure behind it, so it's nice. It's clean, so if you're used to that, it's good. It also supports a couple more databases. Microsoft SQL, MySQL, PostgreSQL. I saw some people messing around with, what's it called? MongoDB. Is that it?
Mongo.
Yeah, whatever it is. I'd never even heard of it. And someone told me that they're trying to integrate it in, and they did the first step. So it supports multiple databases. That's Will.
Okay, terminology. You'll get a lot if you go to meetups, you'll hear all these like buzzwords coming out, so this is a kind of a really quick breakdown of what we mean. So for WordPress, when we talk about content, we talk about something called post types. Out of the box, or out of the core, we have several post types. We have a page, we have a post, attachments, navigation, revisions, and then we have this idea of a custom post type. So out of the box, you get the first lot, and the last one is you actually allowed to develop your own post type. So that could be book, fruit, event, whatever. So taxonomies, we have categories, we have tags, we do have links, but they're kind of being phased out because they can be used anymore. And again, we've got this idea of a custom taxonomy. So if you don't want to use categories or tags, it doesn't kind of fit. Build your own. WordPress is extendable via widgets and plugins, which are kind of similar. Kind of develop widgets as plugins, but they are distinct. And themes. So that's really extendable.
As Joomla, main piece of content that's pushed out is called an article. The taxonomies fall into the categories, and you have multiple subcategories going down to the nth degree, whatever you want. They've integrated in tags now, so now you can put a piece of article, piece of content, into multiple tags and display your content accordingly as well. But I don't know anyone that is actually using it properly. I haven't seen other examples yet. Might be proven wrong. It's extendable by content construction kits, and again, that's borrowed from another CMS, Drupal. And I'll go into a little bit more of that later. Terminology in terms of extensibility, extensions, components perform really big functionality within a site, so it might be a forum, shopping cart, can't think of anything else. A module is similar to a widget in WordPress, where you see modules appearing on the sidebars of your site, in the footer areas, or a logging little box, so they're called modules. Whereas plugins, which is the last extension type within Joomla, perform simple functions, such as maybe embedding a YouTube video, so they're plugins, but they're all extensions. Confusing.
Content construction kits. Yeah, I kind of scratch my head when I see this one, because I haven't really come across this terminology too much. WordPress fits into this bracket, I reckon, through custom post types and custom tags. They're built into it. You really do allow you to extend the system. You don't have to use page and post, you can use anything you like. It just allows you to redefine, whatever post types and tags you want. So you can build whatever you want. And that was nice.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, it was kind of a term borrowed from the Drupal space, where they have content construction kits, and you can build nice forms, etc., to build a custom content type. Now, I don't know, Will, you have to jog my memory. With WordPress, can you have your editing within the front-end interface and have your custom post types as a form field? So you have your title, your content body, and custom fields arranged, do the thing, edit your content on the front end?
You can't edit your content at the front end yet.
Yeah.
However, soon.
Okay, cool. In the Drupal space, in the Joomla space, you use a content construction kit to build forms, essentially, to collect data to present on a website. So these content construction kits here, K2, Seblog, Flexi Content, Fabric, and Soapy Pro, allow you to build forms, essentially, so a user can log into the website, punch in all their data, whether it's a date field, image upload, text, can't think of other ones, and collect that data, and that data can be displayed and represented any way possible. Any way that you can think of. Be creative. My girlfriend is, and she creates a couple of headaches sometimes, but it's cool because it's different. So that's content construction kits and some of the CCKs in the Joomla space. If you haven't heard of them, I recommend checking out Seblog. It's absolutely amazing. It's more so used as an application builder, and also has built-in workflow and publishing systems as well. So if you have a big organization where you have to get a piece of content approved by an editor and you have email notifications shooting off to everyone, that stuff is built into the CCKs too.
So here we get into how we extend the systems, and we're talking about templating now. WordPress itself has this kind of built-in core, so if you are logged into the dashboard, there's an easy way of finding themes. There's a preview and install here. So within the actual dashboard, you go into Appearance Themes. You can then search for all the themes in WordPress.org. And we'll talk a little bit about WordPress.org later, but that's essentially a huge repository of all the free themes that are compatible with WordPress. So in that, you can search for themes, you can search for tags, you can search for types, you can search by name. And you see a little preview, and it'll tell you what it's about. You can click on it, you can actually see what your site would look like, all your data with that particular theme before you commit to install. Or there are premium sites as well. There's heaps of different sites out there that offer premium WordPress themes. When you buy these, you'll get a zip file. So the dashboard also allows you to upload themes as zip files. Simple as click on that, upload it, see the dashboard, and then you can preview it again to make sure it looks okay. You can tweak it a little bit and then set it as your active theme. It's fairly simple to apply a theme and update your site. There's a couple of ways that themes work. The more traditional way is what's called a master theme. So that is, you have one theme, you download it, you activate it, you install it, and that's it. That's just now your theme for your blog. The idea with that is it's great if you're a single user. If you're a developer, you've got to watch it. Because if you start modifying some of the code, the way that WordPress updates themes is that, and themes and plugins, is that it deletes the current directory, downloads a new version, unzips it, and replaces it. So if you're updating your code, if you download this nice theme, you want to change the footer, maybe some of the sidebar, and the code itself. If the person releases an update, when you press apply, it zaps out all your stuff. Okay, so you've got to be aware of that. So that's a traditional model. The newer model is moving towards a parent-child theme. So it's the same idea. You download or you choose your theme. You have it installed in WordPress, not as your active theme, but installed in WordPress. You then create a child theme and set the one you've downloaded as the parent. Okay? You do that through the code. So it knows that that's the parent, and then you create a child. And that inherits all the functionality and design CSS from the parent into the child. Okay? So you can start with nothing, and then you can just build it up. You can slowly override some of the CSS. You can slowly replace some of the functions to what you want. So you can have a system which has 99% of the theme that you've downloaded from premium, but then only maybe override the footer below just to make it look like yours. And what that means is that when an update for the parent theme is released, you can quite happily go, yep, apply that, and it'll apply all security patches and updates, whatever. And you're not going to lose any of your custom functionality you've built, because it's in a single place. So it's a good model to have. The way that WordPress works, and a kind of underside, is that it is event-driven design pattern. Okay, so it's not MVC, which Pete said. So MVC is model view control, different design pattern. It's a different way that web applications work. WordPress is event-driven. I've got a little graphic down there, so you can see that events are tied to functions. Okay, so you've got a function that runs, it's going to create an event, or an event happens, it's going to run a function. And these are very much kind of stacked. So that's the way that WordPress works. And that's kind of borne out in the template hierarchy. You're probably all familiar with websites, and you probably know that the first file that a website hits is going to be something called the index.html or index.php. WordPress kind of turns that on its head. Okay? When you're serving content for WordPress, so let's say you've got a contact us page. WordPress will kind of look at the type of page you're serving. Is it a post? Is it an archive? Is it a single page? And it will look for that, a template in your child theme that specifies that exact name. And if you've got that, say contact us page.php as a template that says, I want to only overwrite that page that's called that name, they'll use that as a template when they're writing. Otherwise, it'll go back down the hierarchy. They'll go to more generic and say, well, is it a page post type? Well, if I've got something that's called symbol.php, which represents pages, I'll use that template. But it's all the way down, the same as it does event, down to index.php, which is the final one. If you don't have that, it's good. If it doesn't find anything, it's all the way down to index.php, and then display that as a hierarchy. Okay? So that's kind of displayed on here. It's a little bit small from moving back, but it shows you the template hierarchy from left to right. It shows you start off with the different page types, and whittles its way down, all the way down to the final index of those pages. So that's kind of how WordPress sees your content and applies design to it.
So Joomla's pretty much the opposite to all of that. So none of the functionality is actually packaged within a template that you buy. All the functionality comes from the extensions itself. So when you're installing or working with a theme for Joomla, you're working with just the skin or the look and feel of the actual website itself. You're not working with any of the functionality. You have to go elsewhere to actually work with that. WordPress is moving away from that.
No. WordPress, I think, is only, it's on here program. It's not, WordPress is probably always going to be event driven, not MVC. It's not MVC.
Okay. So when you're customizing a Joomla website or customizing an extension, things that you add on to it, you can do that all within the template structure itself. So where did that picture come from? Yeah, that's yeah, that was a bit different. So you customize all your little bits and pieces within the template framework. I found it really hard to explain or write or give a diagram of the structure of how it actually works. How many people actually have built templates for Joomla? 3 people. Oh my god. Not many. You've got to up that number. Struggling. So it's broken down to a little bit of a different structure. So the HTML overrides in one area. If you're using a template framework, you've got your less compilers, your CSS all in there as well. So it's pretty much like if you're building a plain, simple HTML static website, but taking out all the different pages. You're just building a core, and you have your wrappers around the parts where you expect Joomla to spit out a module, or expect it to spit out the core component content areas. So it's quite different in that respect. So you build a theme, extensions push out the content.
Hi, public security. I love security. WordPress by default in the box, your security is using the passwords. Okay, if you've got a password, you're going to get hacked. If you use the user admin, you're going to get hacked. Okay? The way that WordPress works in security, it uses something called MD5 hash function. It uses 8 passes. Every time you type in your lovely secure password, will123, it then does a 8-time hash for that, and then we're still using 65 character salt keys, which should be unique for your site, and it stores that in the database. Now, the reason it uses MD5 hash out of the box is purely for compatibility. You can override that password function and tell it to use your decrypt or DES algorithms. The reason it doesn't do that out of the box is purely because when you're purchasing a VPS with cPanel, most of the builds just don't include decrypt or DES. Maybe some of the newer hosts bundle that, but certainly more traditional hosts, those libraries just aren't available. Yeah, you can recompile them, and you can recompile the patch in PHP. Again, WordPress is all about simplicity, it's all about appealing to masses and getting people to use it as quickly as they can. So that's why it supports kind of the MD5 hash, which is the older type of password encrypting. It's still secure. It's not as good as the newer encryptions. Decrypt and DES, for example, I think use something correct. I think use 16 passes for encryption rather than 8. So you can change that if you like, or you can replace the entire authentication layer if you want. You don't have to use username and passwords. It's a new service out now called Clef. I don't know if anyone's heard of that. It's a lot of mobile app. It produces all these kind of squiggly waves that can then hold up to a webcam. It synchronises the squiggly waves with your WordPress, and if they match, it logs you in. So you need to use them for passwords.
That's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
What happens if I'm trying to log in on my phone?
If you don't have your phone, no, it has backups. But it just shows you that you can really manipulate the system. You don't have to use what comes out of the box. You can really customize it quite well. They introduced an updated password strengthening meter as well. This is all the focus on security. So they don't want people to, well, they want to give people as much information as they can. So when you're changing your password, you're typing it in, a little strength meter that comes up and tells you, yeah, that's pretty bad, so that's in these box. They changed the algorithm in that to include things like letter and character replacements. So if you've got O's in your password and you replace those with zeros and L's with ones, that's not good. It tells you that's rubbish. So it's giving you a good indication because they're looking at all these attacks that are happening. Okay, not just for WordPress but all over the place. And attacking bots are getting smarter, running bigger algorithms, smarter algorithms. So you're looking at what these bots are trying to do to guess your passwords, and they're just trying to reflect that, to give you a better chance of making more secure. You can extend the core username and password. You can add on to it if you don't want to replace the layer. So you get plugins that allow you to put captchas in there, which are highly annoying. You can have two-factor authentication. We use that on our website. So we use the Google two-factor stuff on our mobile phone. So username, password, and then put all the code to put in. You can actually have biometric stuff as well. It's a plugin that allows you to have voice activation and a key code. It allows you to speak a little phrase that will log you into WordPress. It's so cool. It actually works. I'm trying that. We have software firewall plugins. That's pretty much essential to have. There's 2 or 3 really good ones out there. They will look at incoming requests to your website, they'll analyze it. So things like fake Google bots, they recognize the real Google bots. The fake ones, they'll just ban them. They'll look for denial of service attempts, so people try to guess your password over and over. You can set a limit for that, so you try to guess, you get 10 passwords wrong in less than a minute. So if you have a chance it's going to be a bot, so you lock them down. So there's pretty good firewalls out there that we always recommend people use within WordPress. You have the HTTPS override as well. It's an option you can set. If you've got an SSL cert on your business, we recommend you switch that one on. And that means every time you log into WordPress, everything you do in the dashboard is secure. As long as you're not using OpenSSL. No, as long as you patch that. New as well in the last couple of releases is the automatic point release. So WordPress before has been a kind of manual upgrade, and they found a lot of people don't apply that because there's this idea that if you upgrade WordPress, it'll break everything. Yeah, sometimes it does, but 9 out of 10 times it doesn't. Sometimes it does because of badly coded plugins and features. It's not the WordPress code. So they've introduced this new feature of automatic upgrades, and it upgrades point releases by default. So if you're on 3.9, they'll update to 3.9.1, 0.2, 0.3, blah, blah, blah. But it won't upgrade you to 4.0. Okay? So they're trying to get the people to take baby steps. Everyone's used to their mobile apps updating, everyone's used to the web browsers updating, but WordPress, not so much. So these are kind of baby steps to get people used to the idea of updating. You can override that, you can set to upgrade everything, major releases, themes and plugins if you want. And that's really going towards eventually. You can also, WordPress has a defined structure when you install it in a box. So you've got folds like WP content, WP admin, and of course if you're a hacker and a stand install, then you know that's where you should target. So WordPress allows you to move those around and rename them, so that you can move them up a directory or to a different directory. WordPress itself knows where these are, but it's not the default location, so hopefully that should kind of stop hackers trying to go directly to them. So that's some of the kind of rough security ideas that WordPress have. Really kind of helping to protect your website.
To save time, Joomla's pretty much the same. Just a lot of that, a couple of the things are actually done in core, and if they're not, then they're done by extensions as well. I haven't seen any squiggly line thing for authentication to log in your site, but maybe it does exist. I just haven't seen it. I think it's a little bit, really? Yeah, and biometric. Okay, if I got a cold, I can't log into my own website. I don't know about that. But a lot of the other things that Will talked about are actually in Joomla as well. So there's always people actively looking at security or other security companies out there and looking at what hackers are doing and implementing those anti-hacker features into Joomla or into extensions itself. I used to work for one of these hacking companies back in the day, a long time ago. So I have experience from the other side as well. Next.
Okay, moving on to support. There's heaps of support for WordPress. It's been going for 10 years now. Last year we celebrated its 10th year anniversary. One of the biggest ones, if you're a developer and user, is the codex. And that's hosted on WordPress.org. And that covers everything from front-end users, so how to use themes, how to install WordPress, all the way to all the APIs and functions in the back end. So it'll tell you what to do, all the parameters. So that's probably the first step I would tell anyone who's looking to get into WordPress, is to kind of hit the codex if you want to understand different functions. WordPress.org as well has forums. They've got general forums that appeal to different things. They've got very basic ones. They've got themes, UI, accessibility. Every plugin that's hosted on WordPress.org has its own forum. So if you have a particular plugin installed, you've got a problem, then nip onto there and type in a support request, and hopefully the developer will get back to you. And there's also LinkedIn groups as well. I think there's 3 groups on LinkedIn. There's an experts and developers and a general body there. They're actually very good. You tend to get quite a lot of expert developers there, expert business users, people who use WordPress, not so much understand how it works from a development point of view, but understand how it works for their business to create products and MVPs to get out there. Premium support as well. There's 2 types of premium support. We've seen a rise in the last couple of years of hosting companies that host only WordPress sites. They're optimized for WordPress, and that's all they do. So they're great for support. If you are an end user and you're not really keen on keeping it all up to date, you don't really understand that, you don't really care, you can use these hosted website providers, and they're fantastic with support. And they look after it and just answer all your queries. Yeah, you might get premium, but that's what they do. So that's one type of premium support. The other premium support is for plugin providers as well. If you buy a premium plugin, what you tend to find nowadays is, rather than pay for the plugin as an ongoing yearly update, for the data itself, the plugin itself, you actually pay now for a yearly support and updates. Okay? So it used to be an old model where you pay for a plugin on like a site license. If you've got one site, you use it on one site, you need to pay for 10 licenses to watch it on 10 sites. Now they're moving more towards, you just buy a yearly update. You use it wherever, you just subscribe for a year, and you get updates and get support. So that's the support model. There's also IRC channels as well. It's pretty old school, but they're pretty good. The WordPress teams themselves, now we'll get to that a little bit later, we do weekly chats on IRC, but the IRC channels are open to everyone. And there's usually a good few number of people there. You kind of mull it around and ask questions.
Pretty much the same. But I don't know if anyone uses, in the Joomla community, uses IRC. We've upgraded to Google Hangouts, if that's any better. Yeah. I heard they were shutting down Google Plus. Anyone hear that?
I heard that too.
Hope
Yeah,
so.
I heard it's kind of old school.
Yeah, okay.
IRC will always be
Back to
Back to IRC. Joomla's pretty much the same. Like the really big thing about the Joomla community is the support, and because it's all open source, just like WordPress, we find a lot of the core team members always contribute back in terms of support, at least. So you always find a lot of active people on forums giving back support. So if you have a message, just jump on the forums. The Docs website is a really good starting point to find all information around different aspects of Joomla, getting started with installing, developing with Joomla as well, building plugins, extensions, whatever you need. It's all on the Docs site. It's a wiki though, so it's a little hard to search, which is a little shit. But we're working on that to make it a little bit more discoverable and a little bit more searchable, so you'll be able to find all those little bits of hidden gems deep buried in that wiki. They started a Twitter Ask Joomla account, so if you have a Joomla related question, shoot it off to Ask Joomla and you get a response from one of the core team members. If you want to really test that out, go ahead. Someone's reaching for their phone. Okay, cool. No? Give it a go and see if you see what kind of support and support you get that from Ask Joomla. Facebook groups. The Facebook group is actually really, really active. So if you're an active Facebook user, jump onto the Joomla Facebook group. You can ask your questions there. Sometimes they get a little bit debatable and you get huge long threads, but I think you get that with any really, don't you? LinkedIn groups again, and like Will said, if you buy an extension and you are getting support from it, it runs with the same subscription. So everyone kind of went that way anyway. Next.
You should speak faster, I can still listen.
I know.
So let's go. Structure WordPress. I hope I've got this right. It's a kind of general summary. Matt Mullenweg, he's the kind of big boss. He sits right at the top. We have this idea of a company called Audrey Capital. It's an angel investment company that Matt's CEO of, and he uses that for his kind of pet projects. Now the reason I mention that is that two of the lead developers that work on WordPress core are kind of employed by them. So they don't work full-time for WordPress, but they kind of work on it. So it's an important aspect. As well, you've got Automatic, which is the big company. So they're in charge of WordPress.com, that's the moneymaker. You've got other products like GoDaddy out there, but WordPress.com is the big one that's associated with it. Underneath that, at the same level of that, you've got the WordPress Foundation. Okay? And now we get to kind of where the code lies. So WordPress Foundation, again, CEO Matt Mullenweg. WordPress Foundation is responsible for the trademark. Okay? So it's responsible for WordPress and WordCamp. Okay? And anything related to the WordPress brand. So that was transferred over from Automatic to the WordPress Foundation a few years ago. It's also responsible for the GPL, so it's responsible for the licensing of the code that runs on WordPress.com. And that's what makes it open source. WordPress Foundation is a charitable organization. Okay? So it doesn't answer to anyone, but it's open source. Within the WordPress Foundation, we have contributor teams. So these teams are kind of bundled into this phrase, Break WordPress. So all the teams are in different departments like core, UI, theme, accessibility. So some worked on for different years. And then we've also got these community teams, and that's kind of bundled under WordCamp Central. And they kind of look after the more community aspect, WordCamps and meetups as well. So that's kind of the rough structure of how WordPress is kind of managed-ish. I think that's true.
Joomla, not the same. we don't have a company that's structuring from the top like Automatic or Acquia in the Drupal space. We just have Open Source Matters, which looks after the money for the project, which comes in through sponsorship, donations, and Google Ads, which surprisingly makes a lot of money. And they look after the trademark and licensing of the Joomla brand name and the licensing of the project in general. One of the licensing changes that just happened recently was the re-licensing of the Joomla framework to be LGPL. So people can take away and use it commercially in commercial environments. So they take care of that. Under that, we have our working groups, just like WordPress does. And we have the production leadership team, which look after the code and development of the project. And then we have the community leadership team, which look after the people and the volunteers that are working with different aspects of the Joomla project, from the extension directory, the community portal, the online forums, marketing working team, and there's one more, but I can't remember. User groups.
Community, as I said before, WordPress is a huge community. WordPress.org is probably the biggest one. LinkedIn as well is fairly significant, so they cover 40 groups. Then we have our local meetups. We've got 3 here every month for WordPress in Sydney. We've got WordCamps as well that we're managing. Podcasts as well, and video blogs, there's heaps of those out there. We've got IRCs, I've mentioned before. IRCs kind of mimic the working groups. So we've got ones for core, ones for UI, ones for dev, usually once per week. So if you're really interested in one particular aspect, you kind of tune in. The only bad side is they're usually kind of UX time, so you've got to get up early in the morning. Stack Overflow, so if you're a developer, you've got really good communities on there. So if you want to kind of understand how something works, there's usually a good following there. GitHub as well, the WordPress core, use SVN, but it's also mirrored on GitHub as well. And there's a good community on GitHub that allows you to discuss it. There's also WordPress TV. WordPress TV usually show the video cache and the WordCamp, so it's more education.
Same as WordPress, funnily enough, but no WordPress TV. Instead, we just use YouTube. So there's a dedicated Joomla YouTube channel where everyone submits their presentations from around the world, from all the Joomla day meetups or whatever, or conferences, and they're all submitted there. Another highlight is the world conferences that we have. So J and Beyond, which is a really good conference that's coming up in the end of May, it's being held in Germany. And do you want to come? We'll see. Think about it. Cool. That's we have very large conferences, and the other one later in the year is in Cancun. So if you're in for a holiday as well, exactly. Come for the holiday. I think it's only like $99 for the conference ticket for 3 days, and you get all your meals provided in that. It's ridiculous, ridiculously cheap. So if you're looking for a holiday, you have to pay the $2 grand to get over there, but the $99 for the ticket for the conference, that's pretty cool. I'm not trying to sell that. Podcasts, videos, Skype channels, RSC, I don't know, maybe I'm too young for that. Stack Overflow, GitHub, so same as WordPress.
Okay, how can you get involved with WordPress? Is that your passion? Loads of things you can do. You don't just have to be a developer. You can get involved with everything practically. So you can contribute to the codex. So if you there's a particular aspect of the UIs that you've been working with, you can edit that just the same as like a wiki. There's forums. If you have developed a plugin, or if you're working in some particular aspect, and you can look on the forum and say something's got a particular problem, then feel free to jump in and help. There's different aspects of WordPress. There's the main WordPress as well. So if you're into UI, if you're into accessibility or plugins, you can jump into those particular aspects as well. You can do beta testing if you like, and help contribute to the core that way. You don't have to be a developer again, you can just load it and see does it break, why, blah blah blah. You can do bug tracking as well. I mean, there's heaps of ways. You can IRC channels, and of course the meetups and WordCamps as well. Just be a part of the community and just chat with people.
Same.
Okay. We're going to run through a couple of quick case studies between the two of us. Okay. This is one that we did about a year ago. It's called Visit Irish. Last year, Alan was having this big thing about inviting all the expats back, to reconnect with Ireland, go and stay with them, go and do things. Okay, so we developed this as part of the Irish government. It is based around events, things to see, and accommodation. Okay, and it uses extensive Google API technology as well as HTML5 geotagging. So if you log in via your browser, it kind of detects who you are and throw you into the nearest location for Ireland, which is actually Carlow if you try for here, a few thousand miles away, but it'll tell you your nearest location. It uses an itinerary system as well, so you can kind of go through all the maps, see where you want to go, you can drag and drop that onto an itinerary and take that with you on your mobile, print it out. Essential is a directory. It's a free and paid directory. So loads of free listings there. Guys make a little bit of money off it through paid and featured, so you can extend the different profile. We can show it to the top to be featured directory. Got a little bit of advertisement there, but not too much. Just a lot of focus just to be on the places and things. We do a lot of social media interaction and inbound marketing, because the idea was to build this whole community of expats, and bring them together and introduce Ireland to more people. And we're going to be doing some forums on as well in the next couple of months. So not your typical blog, more of a, you expect an advanced web application to use today.
So at some time in Joomla's life cycle, someone along the lines decided that Joomla is really good for non-profit organisations. I don't know who did that. I don't know why. But we find that a lot of our clients are non-profit organisations using Joomla to power their websites, membership sites, whatever. This is a client that we worked with, New South Wales Family Services, and we've integrated in Sydney CRM into the install and build of the site. It allows us to do a whole bunch of extra things from the CRM, the customer relationship management of our customers, event registration, membership sign-ups, can't think of other things, annual memberships, payments, online payments, all that stuff as well. And those memberships actually give them access to different types of content that's actually on the website as well. So depending on the membership levels that they're actually signing up for, they'll get different content when they log into the website. It also has a directory with radial search, just like we was talking about, so you can find a service or provider that's near you. And like I said, the member access levels are quite extensive on the site.
This is our latest topic. This is Horseboat Ireland. It's the governing body for all the things in question in Ireland. Extended Line Campus is incorporated in Ireland. And that's where a lot of our clients come from. They are very heavy on the inbound marketing and social media. So they are all about creating the whole community, the whole equine community to get involved. So we do a lot of forum stuff, we do a lot of marketing, Facebook, Twitter for that. The large part of integration of this website is a company called FEI. It's a French company. And they're actually responsible for holding all the data from all horse events throughout the entire world. And they make that information available via their web services. So what we did, we tapped into that. We took out all the information we wanted, specifically for all the races, competitions, events that are happening with Irish racers in it. What we do is there's 3 or 4 different cron jobs that happen daily, and they go and read all the web service information, bring it down, process it, and there's about 3,000 data items that's being manipulated every day. And they then generate posts and data, custom post types within the WordPress application and present that as the front end for the kind of FEI results. So I'll tell you what's coming up this week, what's coming next week with all the different riders, the horses as well. As well as that, we also link into the actual the breeders as well and the owners. So there's different types of people that are viewing this. There's the riders themselves, there's the people who have the horses, there's people who go and enter into the events. When you enter into an event, you need to register horses, you need to have a passport, shots, and veterinarian system, and jabs and all that sort of stuff. They're all held on databases and they're all exposed via web services. So we expose all those, we bring in all that information, and then we give that over to the particular types of customers, so they can enter the horse details, they can enter the event details, and it all uploads again to the relevant authorities, updates all the database, everything from us the whole website. So not your typical.
It's interesting hearing the case studies. I haven't heard a case study like that before. So it's really cool to hear that. But it sounds, from my understanding and experience, if you know your platform and CMS or whatever you're using really well, you can make it do anything. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what camp or what side you stand on. If you know the CMS or platform really well, you can make it do what you want it to do.
Make it seem nice.
Yeah. Whatever. So this is a client that we built a site for. It kind of extends everything that content in a website to be shoved into one little shell. So it has the CRM behind it as well. It has event registration. It has an online directory, a crazy publishing workflow with different levels of access within there as well. So that was integrated into the website, forums, and of course subsites as well. So a thing that I didn't mention within Joomla is that its ability to have different templates applied to it. So can you do that in WordPress at all?
Not easily.
Okay. So with Joomla you can apply and install different templates. You can have like 20, 50, 100 different templates and assign that template to a different menu part of your website. So if you click on articles and resources, you can make the entire website look and feel and function differently to the other parts of the website. Does that mean I stop talking now?
Last strikes, last order.
Okay, so that's something that we did with this website. So we made it so it's a different experience, different landing pages. So when they're doing inbound marketing, the user that's coming in has a different experience, look and feel, and it's very customized for them when they use the website.
These are the images that we stole. And that's it. Yay.
Pizza time.
Yay. Sorry, Will, we're not men.
Yeah, I think we did go over quite a bit.
Anybody got any questions? Gonna ask them. Thanks to Peter and Will for their presentations. Please network with each other here at each other's LinkedIn. If you have any questions, please ask them during the time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, Jared.
Thank you, Jared.
Damn! The pizza's right there. Like I'm hungry.
I'm surprised you didn't skip off. Oh, I'm not going to correct. Wow. That'll take too long.
Pizza per person. Win. I did have a question. So I come from another CMS community that's a lot more democratic than Joomla is. Is there a tension in the WordPress community between automatic ones versus the open source? Having a single company, having a large
It's not like dominance because the fact that you've got Matt Allen back here. Yeah, kind of steers it. Hey, people who want change and want things done, then there's the opportunity for them to get involved at every level. So I wouldn't say it's more change.
It is.
I wouldn't say it's 10 minutes of different. People say, why don't we do this? And then it's kind of
Is there a kind of benevolent if someone else doesn't say, like, hey, you want this, but we're going
kill that.
So that is actually a term and it is used widely in every open source community. Hi, I'm
Where's the problem start?
and WordPress developer. I've dealt with this politics stuff for a while, and although automatic has a lot of influence for WordPress, it's never really defined how WordPress is built. Well, at least not a lot. When it first started out, most of WordPress was developed by how many people? These days, pretty much everyone.
Is it your own company?
They're willing to do that.
So I head out
So, free hosting,
yeah, we're small.
so blue hosting, they contributed quite a lot of brand features, like multi-site was recently controlled by and basically got some of the use now. I just used it. And they say it's like they want to.
I suppose in some ways that can lie
Give it a size, or
automatic, you know, if you set their own platform, what does it not?
It doesn't really matter to us. Automatic is sort of encouraging.